I think if you're an international student, you should listen to this episode. Yes, I say that boldly. You should. Because not only is it inspiring, Milan came here as a student, finished school, and then started a business helping students like himself, like students like him 2 years back, that sort of thing. But I think the biggest thing for me is he shares tips on how, if you are applying to school in Canada, websites to go to, how to compare information you get online, communities you should join. Like, it's so practical, but most importantly for me, I think, is the fact that he also shares how you can avoid scam agents, because there are a ton of them. Enjoy. So everyone, Milan runs an edtech business called EdMission. And, immigrant, no, first of all, international student and now entrepreneur. I mean, I want to understand, like, just walk me through your journey from being an international student to becoming an immigrant entrepreneur in this educational sector. Like, how did you get there?
Yeah, for sure. So the thing was, I came here in fall 2021, but my first attempt to be here in Canada was in 2016, actually. So at that time, my first master's was in organic chemistry with the specialization in medicinal chemistry. So at that time, I was really interested in drug metabolism, and I decided to have another master's degree in research of drug metabolism. But so my first master's was not a research-based degree, right? It was completely course-based. So I got interested in that part and thought, like, let me go now out of my country. I'm basically from India. And look for the research options in drug metabolism, and that's how it was started back in days in 2016. But I couldn't make it due to financial crisis, and what happened because of that, I tried to look for alternatives that is kind of in economical options, right? And that's what we all do. We look for the alternatives and better options for that is basically aligned to our goals. And that's what I did. I look the options for the USA, Australia, New Zealand, UK, France, Czech Republic, Poland, Germany. But still, like, that was, I think, not my time at that time, and I still couldn't make it. So what happened during that time is, now I had a really good R&D on the education system of all those countries, and also the visa procedure, and where to get authentic information and everything, right? So I used that knowledge and started helping local Indian students who actually are willing to move abroad for their higher education. So at that time, I didn't know that this could be I knew that this is a business. A lot of people were back in days doing the same as well. But I didn't know that it is kind of for me as well, right? But then I started just on the basis of my knowledge, the small business back in India, helping the local student. And it came out that I'm really good at this. I good at explaining the information about this industry, and helping student with getting actually authentic information from the government website, from the university's website itself. And I used to tell students that do your research first, because in this industry a lot of people are working and they have their individual tie-ups with the universities, and they get commissions from the universities. So
Yeah.
lots of players were out there in the market, and it was no strange that these many education consultants or agents were trying to scam or manipulate the students by providing only convenient information that is actually profitable for them. So I used to guide students that, okay, this is the authentic source of this information. You can go there, go on government website, go the university's website, check the eligibility criteria, match your profile, and then if you think that the information that is being provided by me, or maybe you have the different information as well
Mhm.
based on your research. Let's have a second conversation about this, and then we I used to move forward. So that was kind of not a actual consultation type of approach, but more of an advisor side of the approach that I used to do to help those people, those students down there. And then I realized that okay, this is good. Then I, from the small office, I actually expanded my office in the downtown of my city a little bit, overcame my financial crisis, and realize that the student mobility is not kind of just a local phenomenon. It's a global phenomenon. Not just the Indian students or the students from my city is going abroad for higher education, but from one country to another country, students are moving for better education opportunity. So I thought, okay, medicinal chemistry is good, but this is fun. So I thought, okay, let me explore this area more, and I think this is my time to have a global startup in this space, and because of that, I decided to have another master's degree in entrepreneurship, because to go global, either you should have the business sense, or you must be a really good towards the technical side as well, right? So I didn't have any kind of background back in days. So I thought, let's go for entrepreneurship, because starting from the very beginning, technical side doesn't make any sense. It's very time consuming, right? So I went for another master's and looked different options in three different countries: US, Canada, and France. And I only applied for two universities in Canada because that's where actually I was aligned. The first one was Carleton University, and the second one was St. Mary's University in Halifax. And they, both of the universities has the entrepreneurship program, and I got accepted for both of them and move forwarded with the Carleton University. And that's how I was from the very beginning. When I came here from fall in fall 2021, I was very keen from the day one that what actually I want to do in the future. I did my research very well and made sure that it is aligning with my future goal as well. So that's how, as an international student, I came here in 2021, but I was very from the beginning aligned that okay, this is the path that I want to move forward. And a lot of people helped me during that part as well, including my own professor, who helped me a lot, providing proper information and guidance whenever I necessary. But we will talk a little bit more about that. So that's what my journey from India to here in Canada as an international student, and also moving forward as an entrepreneur.
That's interesting. I mean, it's. I'm sure there are people like you, but I've not met someone yet who, they're immigrating as a student and they're clear about what they're going to do. Some people just say, you know what, I'm just going to immigrate as a student. I'll start, I probably want to get a job in some companies and all that. But like you were pretty clear. So you've been here 2021. So like that's give or take like 3 years. If you think back about the Milan who used to help students back in your city in India, and you think about the Milan who's talking to me today, like how's your immigration experience so far, just trying to settle into Canada, changed? Has it influenced how you help people? Like, has it changed your outlook on how the work is done and the things that need to be done? Just because I feel like just 3 years, you've changed a bit. You're not even in a new country. You've gone through the usual immigrant experience. Like, so has that changed?
Yes, so definitely for sure. Two things that helped me a lot from India to Canada. The very first one is cultural exposure. So when we talk about people, coming from different Asian countries, people coming from Africa, people coming from Middle East, they bring different perspective on the table, and they share their experience that hey, back in my country, these things are this type, right? And also people who are coming from different country, they have faced different kind of challenges, and they have completely different approach to tackle the same situation faced by a person coming from another country. So that is really interesting thing that I have learned, and that exposure given me to be open about the different perspective, which is very, very important. The second thing, also, that the access of resources here in Canada, in comparison of the country that I'm coming from, India, it is completely different. Here in Canada, I personally felt that the resources are easily accessible because of the nature and the competition back in the country that we have. The competition back in the country is really, really huge. And if, for example, if I give the very specific example of government resources or government employee or representatives that you want to talk to, it is kind of a little bit difficult back in the country, where you have to go through different layers, and then you can finally reach out to the government employee or the person that you wanted to talk. But here it is very approachable. People do really respond if you are very serious about what you want to do. So that's what I felt. The second thing that helped me the most was how to reach out to that particular resource or the person, right? So that I learned after coming here in Canada, which was might be for other people a completely different scenario. So if we compare the Milan back in the country, in India, and right now that I am talking to you, the main thing that has changed is the approach towards the particular situation or the problem that I used to take back in India. And here I become more open about the different scenarios and the approach, and also the perspective that people come with the same problem they are facing. So it is really it is really important for me to, number one, listen to other people and do that particular analysis of whatever the person is saying to you about the situation, right? And then come up with your own opinion or maybe the final decision. And maybe you also want to compare that situation with your opinion first, and then you move forward with the final decision that you want to take for. So that is, I think, really changed in me.
Mhm. And that's a good point you make about how when you travel, the cultural diversity changes you whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Because then all of a sudden you're talking to different kinds of people, you eat different kinds of meals, and it kind of rubs off, unless you don't want it to rub off. There's something you said that I find interesting when you talk about, how international students come and talk about, oh, back in my country, this doesn't happen. And I just kind of want to build on that and ask, like seeing the amount of work you've done with international students while back home, and now you live in Canada, like what are the most common misconceptions you find students tend to have about studying, and let's use Canada, about studying and living in Canada? Like, what are the most common ones you see? And maybe we could break it up into common ones you see across countries, or yeah, let's just say across countries, the ones that are the most common amongst everybody, you know?
Yeah. So basically, when it comes to come here in Canada as a student, there are two different, very specific division of the student. I should say that the one group of the student has that mentality. They do their research. They are really keen about what they want to do, and they do research about the institution, university, the city they are going, the program, and the alignment of the program with their future. That's the one group of the student. The second group of the students are, they just want to come in to the country for maybe better opportunity. About, they have this, okay, we will just go there and earn a lot of money, and be there and have a permanent residency. There is another group thinking like that. So for first group, it is not very difficult to face the situation after coming here in Canada, and they see that okay, they have already done their research, and they kind of expected the things that is already here in Canada, and they knew it from the very beginning that they're going to face this. But another group of the students, they find different kind of shock after coming here in Canada, and that's the number one is cultural shock, which is also quite of underrated and people do not talk about it much. The cultural shock is the thing when it plays very important role to evolve yourself. If you are adapting that cultural shock very positively and try to accommodate that cultural difference within yourself and blend in, the opportunity is endless. The second one, when you become a little bit of conservative or rigid to accept the different culture, it becomes really hard for you to grow on the the upper level that where you are coming from. And also you will also face that okay, I expected after going in Canada, I will be doing this, and I will have a part-time job and save a lot of money. I will also earn money for my next semester or maybe the next year of this study, but it is not happening. What's wrong? Right? So when you have that mentality where you did not research first from the very beginning of all the possibilities, you somehow relied on education agents or the third parties who did your services to be here, and they told you
Oh
that
yeah.
we will do everything for you, and you will be there, and everything will be good. You somehow relied. It doesn't matter, you didn't research, or maybe you wanted to do that by yourself as well. So after coming here, you will face a different kind of situation that you didn't expected when you were back in the country. So this two group of people that we see who are facing different kind of scenario in the in Canada, and in opposition of whatever they expected back in the home. So I would say, yeah, whoever who wants to come here in Canada from any country, the number one path is a really good path, which makes you ultimately stronger after coming here in Canada rather than giving multiple setbacks every other month.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I mean, I don't blame anyone who decides to kind of ask people to help them out, because like immigrating is like a lot. It's a lot of work. But you're right. I do think you should actually put some effort into just trying to understand where you're coming from. Keep an open mind and just try
Exactly.
to keep an open mind and just try to. I mean,
Yes.
you mustn't take in everything, but at least try to understand why that's that way, and then walk towards just kind of living with it. You can't just always keep opposing, like, no, I don't agree. This is not how, this is not who I am. Like, you decided to move, like, so you open your mind up, because when you decide to move, you become a global citizen. Like, you literally, that's what you become. So fully accept that moniker for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So that it's the thing where some things are completely non-negotiable for you, but at the same time, it should not be like all the things are non-negotiable for you, right? You have to keep your mind open about the different culture, different situation, different atmosphere, whatever that you are going in a new country. So everything is going to be different. So you need to learn as much as you possible, be open about everything, and try to analyze by yourself that okay, this is how the system is working here, this is how the culture is working here. So you got to adapt that system or the culture, and do not become restrictive about or do not restrict yourself about everything.
Yeah. I want to go back to when you just landed. What was hard about settling into Canada and what was easy for you?
Oh, that's I think a really good question. So is I actually traveled during the COVID time.
Yeah.
So at that time, direct flights from India to Canada were completely banned. So I had to travel through Egypt, 2 night stay back in Egypt, and had my COVID test done in Egypt, and then I had to come here in Canada because that was the only requirement during at that time. So traveling, number one, start of my journey was a little bit headache, but it was a fun it was a fun too as well, because it's kind of a once in a lifetime memory for me that I had actually traveled from one part of the world to another part of the world during pandemic, right? But after that, after coming here, my university was completely closed, and only authorized personnel were allowed to access the campus and everything. So as an international student, somehow you start looking for part-time job once you come here. In that situation, I got a little bit lucky, where right after landing here, within first 13 to 15 days, I got a job offer on campus, on my university campus. So in what happened was Carleton University at that time came up with the COVID screening program for the people who are accessing the campus, and they had students requirement that can able to be on campus and screen those people, and they had this application, so everyone needs to screen themselves in application, and we had to check all those things, right? So I got lucky during the first semester, and from the day one I had on campus job, and that was a good part. But that was also, when I talk about the cultural shock, it was a cultural shock for me as well, because I was now working with the people from every background, people from Africa, people from Asia, people from Middle East, local Canadians, everyone was on our team, was accessing the campus as well. So you greet the people, and it was kind of the front end job as well. So I tried a lot of things to learn, and that was the best time that I exposed myself out there and try to learn different things about the culture here. When people say that Canada is a multicultural society, so I experienced right there in the first semester. So that was good experience for me. When my university started, the first semester, so a little bit time, that was a little bit hectic time when I had to finish all the assignments. I was doing the job on campus as well, so that period is always for the students a little bit challenging and hard to cope up with everything, and that was the same for me as well. But I think overall experience for me was I think the same that I expected back in home. Then when I reached to my third semester, and that's where the real entrepreneurship journey started for me, when I joined the incubation program here in Ottawa, at Invest Ottawa. So my real exposure towards the entrepreneurship side started there. I accessed so many resources, and Invest Ottawa helped me with a lot of resources, and taught me that how basically I can navigate and access resources here in Canada, being a uh, new in the country. So that was a little bit of hectic time as well. But I think most of the things that I expected before coming here. So that was my experience.
Well, that's cool. When you talk about coming here during COVID, like I want to know how you dealt with the mix of, trying to settle into a new country, it's all the feels and everything, missing home, And at the same time, being plopped at a time when there was low trust. So COVID meant that people were a bit distant from each other. Like there was just
Mm.
this barrier between people. You're wearing a mask. If you coughed, people looked at you a bit strangely. Like, how was it for you? Like, how did you deal with that? Like mixing that? I mean, was
Yeah,
it like,
so
yeah, yeah.
definitely, for sure. So yeah, mask and everything, social distance was a big deal at that time, and luckily, I never got COVID. Touch wood. But of course, when you cough, people look at you, as you mentioned, and social distancing also was a thing. But back in before coming here, I already gone through the entire countrywide lockdown in India, where almost
Oh yeah, that was
y-
true.
yes,
Yeah, I remember. I remember.
it's,
India had a really, really big, like y'all. India got hit badly by the pandemic. If I remember
yeah,
then.
yeah. The COVID cases spiked a lot in India,
Yeah,
so almost like continuously 2 months, the entire country was in lockdown situation, and only healthcare providers got access for transportation and for supply chain as well. But everyone was at home and doing their own things, and nobody was going nowhere. So I had already gone through that experience, uh, and then I came here. It was not the same situation, so I got a little bit relaxed. It was completely opposite for me, right? But I was like, okay, there is no thing like lockdown here. People can access and go here and there whenever they want.
yeah.
Public transportation was working, but of course, by maintaining those rules and
Distance.
regulations. So it was a little bit free for me, and not kind of a lockdown situation. So I was very happy about that. And at that time also, I was looking around, uh, different areas in across Ottawa, and exploring the neighborhood and everything. So it was fun actually. No, I didn't face any kind of trouble in terms of blending to the new society because of especially COVID.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because when you compare what was going on in India and how Canada was, like it was probably Canada was probably like a breeze for you.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
so we're gonna round up in a bit. Probably have like 3 or 4 more questions for you, but I think the
Sure.
first one I have for you is when you think about so so like let me try and put it this way: you you try to come here to do something in drug metabolism that didn't work out. You started a business in helping students. You now decided to move here and become like do your masters and then launch as a global startup. You know, and now if we put that context and then we think about the fact that as immigrants, it just feels like we're always trying to prove something to those back home that we can succeed. You know,
Yeah.
like how do you think your definition of success has changed, especially since becoming like now you've started a business. Like, do you still think you see success the same way you saw it the day you landed at the Ottawa airport? Or do you think that Milan, Canada has changed you a bit, maybe softened you up a bit? Or I'm just
Of
curious.
course, yeah, of course. So, in general terms, we are talking that people always, or most of the time, not always, let's say, but most of the time, measure success with wealth. That how much money you are earning. So generally, if you see rich people, and simply people say that, okay, that person is very successful, right?
Yeah.
And I had the same situation as well, and perspective that, okay, one day I'm gonna be super rich and successful at the same time. Like for me, it was the same one. But when I realized that, actually, when I provide really good information or authentic information to the students, and students become happy, it is more satisfactory than, of course, when money is coming in, it hits different as well. But also the satisfaction of your client, for example, if you want to say, put it that way, satisfaction of or your client, or maybe the other people that you're helping, it hits differently as well than earning money. So of course, earning money is also the thing, and it was from the very beginning as well. It is still there, but at the same time, the one part that I added in the success is that if I am providing 500 people a service or something like that, and among those 500 people, 450 people are satisfied or 400 people are satisfied, and they speak good thing out there about myself, then it is also a really good success. And that's what I believe as well, that okay, earning money and everything for yourself, for your family, is a very good thing, but also at the same time helping other people, giving back to society, and make other people happy about this whenever they need, they require some sort of resources, and outside of also your regular service, if you are able to help them, and that satisfaction is also a success, because not just by doing your regular job, outside of that you are now able to help other people, and that is a good thing, and giving back to the society as well. So that's what I think we need more. We need to earn money and all those kind of things is very good, but I think apart from that, we need more people out there who can actually help without any kind of expectation of money, or earning something from that people, and just help them and move on, help them and
Yeah.
move on. So that is, I think, also one of the important things. So that's what I nowadays also like to do, some whenever I get a little bit of time, not all the time.
Just follow up on that. Like, so do you think your sense of identity of who you are has changed, like, in this past 3 years? Like who's Milan right now compared to who Milan was when he left India?
So when Milan left India, it was he was a person who wanted to become a really good entrepreneur, and right now, in that perspective, I am the same. Nothing has changed. I still want to be a really really good entrepreneur, but of course, on the other side, when I was not thinking that much of helping other people during that time, because all I was thinking about earning money and be successful just for myself and my family. Now it has changed. I guess the significant part of helping other people is in me right now. I became a little bit more compassionate about that side. And right now, for example, I added a small part into my regular activity as well, where I have gone through from 0 to 1 to my entrepreneurial journey, and now I help other newcomers or the people who are working on just their idea. They have no validation, or they have like multiple ideas to move forward, so how to work more, narrow it down to one idea, and move forward from 0 to 1. So I help those early stage entrepreneurs who are basically working on their idea, and that is without any kind of expectation of and no service charge, nothing. We just have this kind of conversation, just like you and me are talking, and brainstorm on the idea they want to work for, how to note it down on paper, and then from that point to move forward, how to talk to your first customers, or maybe the potential customers, to identify their problem, and then shape into the entrepreneurial idea, right? So that's what I do whenever I have some time. Especially I prefer that on Saturday, or maybe the evening time after 5 to 6 o'clock, to do that, because that's the fun, I think.
Mhm. And then that's great of you, to be honest. Like, people need to share the experience more and just kind of help those who are coming behind them. We're rounding up now. You talked a lot about international students, so I'm just curious, like if Trudeau were to say to you now, "Hi Milan, what changes would you recommend to improve the international student program in Canada? Like, what are your top three changes you would recommend?"
The very first one, all the agents outside in Canada, they must be removed right away. The very first thing I would
People are
do.
gonna come chase you.
I I do not care, because that's the thing that is spoiling the international student program the most right now. In Canada, who are the education consultants who are based in Canada and who are bounded by Canadian rules and regulations, those institutions are only should allow to recruit international students if they are based in Canada, bounded by rules and regulations to Canada, and they have the offices in the different countries. That's fine. But those ghost agents out there in the different countries who are doing as just anything in order to recruit the students and earn the commission from the university should be banned right away. This system needs to be filtered out, and that's the very first thing that has to be done. Otherwise, what's going to happen is, even though, if you see the current situation, that government has changed the rules and put the cap on international students for undergraduate programs, even though masters and graduates are not included in that one. But do you think that that particular cap that the government has put already, and whoever the students are coming under those cap, those are coming in a very ethical way? No, I don't think so, because those students, even through the under the cap of international student limit, or whoever the students are coming, those are constantly being right now recruited by those ghost agents outside the Canada as well. So that needs to be filtered out very um, it is very, very important. And the second thing, that right now the Canadian system has a portal of student applications. They have, you might know, the Ontario Colleges has the portal, and then the Ontario University has the portal. So I think the very one centralized portal and centralized system that can improve the international student program very well. And all the universities who are going through the international student recruitment, that has to be through that portal, reported to the government with the document verification and everything. That government is trying to have current changes as well, related to track those international students if they are changing the institutions and whatsoever, right? So that thing, I think the centralized system, I don't know, that could be a centralized, like the central portal or something like that. I don't know that how that should be created as of now. But yeah, that centralized system should be there, so that, number one, whoever students are coming in, they are coming with the proper channel. That's an authentic source. Even if from outside Canada students want to look for that information, that is the one-stop solution for all the international students. They can directly, okay, this is the government authorized portal, and we will get transparent information. That's number one. Number two, after coming Canada, even if the government wants to track those students, and universities also want to get those student information, that centralized system can easily be track those students as well. So that is not an unnecessary burden towards the institution as well, right? So that was my
to,
direct
to
thought of the solution about this international student program. There are also other things, document frauds and the spamming immigration system and all those kind of situation. We might have been hearing a lot about diploma mills and all those arrangements. But yeah, there are so many things to talk about that side as well. But these are the top two things that I would probably prioritize, that filtering the ghost agents network, And number two, making a centralized system for both universities and colleges, because we have the different system here. Colleges are different, separate, and universities are separate, right? So making that centralized system would help this situation a lot.
I mean, but don't you think that government has this history across the world of just not doing things properly? I mean, they have good intentions, but then they just don't do things properly. So, like when you talk about the centralized system, do you think the government can really pull that off? Or really the reason why it hasn't pulled it off is because it can't just pull it off, because just data management, and every other single thing that comes with building that sort of thing, like, because governments across the world, like, they just don't get it right most of the time.
Of course. So that's not an easy task, number one for sure. But it might be, it might be done in different stages probably, right? One thing at a time kind of an approach that can be done. If you compare the different countries, US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and UK, these are the five major destinations for the students, for international students. And if you see, four of these destinations got affected, uh, uh, related to the international student program, and um, those countries were Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and UK. These four has ups and downs, but US, on the other hand, the only one who remained the constant in terms of attracting international students. And today, for 2024, forecasting for international student increment in US is 10%. Right? US was constant in terms of attracting students because they have always focused on quality. They were from the very beginning upfront that, okay, if you are coming here for permanent residency or green card or something like that, you're not going to get it probably, right? So they were from the very beginning upfront about the post graduation scenario, and everyone knows that as well. But somehow, with the other countries like Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and UK, students have this expectation beyond study, that they will probably get permanent residency, they will probably get the chance to stay longer in the country and whatnot, right? So in that situation, things become a little bit complicated. So that approach, that centralized, I think the centralized approach with the proper expectation and clarity about the program will help students, I think, more about what to expect even before the country, where to get all in one information from a centralized portal, rather than getting those information with the intermediaries and different layers. So I think this could be a slow process, but I think would be effective.
Mm. I mean, I hear you. I hear you. I don't know, because it just feels like there's also the issue where people literally go to school because they want to get a passport or something like that. So that's one pathway. And so it just feels like the curse of Canada having many pathways from being a student to becoming a permanent residency is also a blessing and a curse in itself. And so probably it's a much broader conversation of just trying to say, like, how do we make this system work from end to end, and then the second thing to maybe think about, and maybe this is not the purview of this conversation, is what we're seeing with the international students issue. Is that a symptom of the broader immigration policy itself? And if you think about it that way, how do you now try to fix B by fixing A? That sort of thing. Like, I feel like,
Yeah,
because I feel like it's really, sometimes I listen to the news and see what's in there. I'm like, gosh, like, this is really complex,
yeah.
it's so complex.
That is where actually the setting up the proper channel of communication comes in the picture, right? If you are coming to Canada, and we have so many pathways to have an entry in Canada. If we take it in that perspective, there is a student, there is a work permit, there is a visitor visa, there is a LMIA system that is going on. There is direct permanent residency
Residency. Yeah.
pathways, right? So there are so many pathways for the entry in Canada. But if you see, if you want to find that information on IRCC portal, it's very complicated to navigate, right? And that's where consultants, lawyers, and those agents comes in the picture to provide that information to the students or the people outside Canada who want to come here, right? So that is, see, that layer actually is the hindrance. We are not talking about lawyers and the government authorized consultants, because they are bounded to the rules and regulations. So if something happens unfortunately by those individuals, they are already liable to the law of a government of Canada. But now if you go beyond that, there are secondary channels comes in the picture of those agents, or maybe the third party, or maybe friends and relatives. Those are also
Mhm.
counted in that secondary layer as well. And that's where they do not know the 100% of the clear picture of the rules and regulations, right?
Mm.
And
Mm.
that's where the large network of misconceptions, misrepresentations, and miscommunications comes in the picture. And people face trouble in terms of moving forward with the right pathway.
Mm. And seeing that we're here, my last question is like, when you think about the level of misinformation and all that, like what would you say to any someone who's thinking of moving to Canada, to just to kind of help them protect themselves from a potential fraud, mispresentation? Like, what would you say? Like, what advice, tips? Like, how does an international student prevent this from happening to them?
Yeah, for sure. So if you're coming to Canada for your education, two things and two resources are the most helpful. The number one is IRCC website, and number two is individual universities website. These are the most authentic sources that you never wanna neglect. Now we understand that navigating IRCC website is one of the most difficult tasks in the world. So what makes your process easier, that if you are using any kind of lawyer or agents, or maybe just you are taking your chances to talk to agents and get information from. So number one thing that you want to do is, whatever the information that you got, now you have that limitation. Now check the authenticity of those information on website, rather than doing everything from the scratch, right? So now you can compare that. Okay, this agent or this person mentioned me these kind of things, and now if that thing is authentic or not, on the basis of the information available on government website. Second thing is that you want to compare also your profile with the options available out there. It doesn't always necessary that whatever the options that you got from your education consultant, those are the only options available for you. You go to the best, you start with the best university first, check their entry requirement and eligibility criteria and acceptance rate, so that you can compare that. Okay, my profile is this, and now these are the best universities that I can get the admission for. If your profile is not that much of a strong to get admission with top 5 or top 10 universities, then you go beyond that and search accordingly and match that requirement for yourself. So education consultant is providing the information. Yes, it is helpful in many ways. I'm not saying it is not helpful, but comparison of that information with the authentic source and your individual profile is the most important task that you want to do. The third thing, if we go a little bit beyond that, check on the local resources, Facebook groups, and the WhatsApp groups. These community groups are nowadays very strong in terms of providing real data. If you are coming to Ottawa or Toronto or Vancouver or Calgary, right? join local Facebook groups of that individual city on Facebook and see what is happening, what kind of questions that people are posting in this group, what kind of information they are taking, what kind of problem they are facing right now, right? And post also your query that okay, you are coming to this college, this university, and you got this kind of information. Is it true or not? What is the actual situation? And we have seen that if you post just one individual query, 100 people will reply you with the proper information. Those groups are really very active nowadays, right? So you can get very transparent information and real information from those community groups. Use those community groups very well in order to get proper information, and then finally you have done your research with the authentic source, government website, university website, community groups. You have now really clear picture about yourself, where you want to go and what program that you want to take for, and then finally you can make a really good decision and that you want to regret after coming here.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I know that's a lot of thing to do, but
Yeah, but it's
after coming
helpful.
here
It's
after coming
helpful.
here if you see that a lot of students they might complain about the different things. If you have done this from the very beginning while you are back in your country, it will help you a lot. You might not face that much of a trouble. And also, there is one last piece of advice that I wanna give to the people who are coming to Canada, is actually from the day you land here in Canada, or maybe before that, try to learn how to navigate the job market here based on the skills that you have, right? It is not necessarily true that you are going to get job within first 15 or 20 days, but if you have learned about how to navigate the job market here, it will help you a lot to get the job based on your experience. Otherwise, of course, there are jobs available in food sector, retail sector,
Yeah,
customer service,
yeah,
that most of the people do. But if you really want to utilize your skills and move forward in that direction, you have to understand the navigation of the job market and how to get the proper resources, talk to proper people, and move forward accordingly. So that is very important, I guess.
yeah. Yeah, that point you make, yeah, that's yeah, because I mean people just come and I think it all kind of goes back to what you said earlier about like do your research.
Yeah,
It just kind of goes back to that. Just do your research. People don't do enough of that.
exactly.
You know, you're coming, you need to start planning to come 1 year before you land, to be honest. Like that's how I think it is.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you do not research, and majority number of the students nowadays, they just want to take entry and get permanent residency and all those kind of things. Major focus is not study, and that's where lack of research comes in the picture as well. And then we might see that back in the countries, that also a little bit of negativity towards that side spreads, saying that okay, now we do not have that opportunity, now we do not have that picture that back in the days that Canada used to have, right? But economy evolves according to that as well. Back in days was that much of a population thing. Population grew, happen a lot as well, and due to that, competition increased in the market as well. So you need to accordingly develop your skills, or maybe navigate your path according to your skills as well. So that's how I think it works, and you need to be up to date on the recent trends and the skills required in the market as well.
I think this is a really good place to kind of end this because I don't know, like I feel like this is the advice. Like this is so important. So once again, thank you so much for joining me on this. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me. It was, I think, a really good discussion. I didn't expect that we would go this in depth with each and every topic.
Thank you so much for listening to this. As always, I really appreciate the fact that you're here at this point in time. Like, you listened to the whole interview. If you know someone who find it useful, please send this to them. If you know someone I should talk to, send them my way. And with that, have a beautiful day.